Daddy, I knew you wouldn't come. Hello and welcome to our wrestling perspective. If you want to make it your wrestling perspective, all you need to do is add Y. This is a continuation of our weekly perspective. We've put 4 episodes out now. This is episode 5. Episode 5. Episode 5. That's correct. Episode 5 is going to feature the whole week of professional wrestling between March 2nd, 2020 and March 8th, 2020. And yes, I did promise that I was going to cover the Ring of Honor pay-per-views that did happen last week. So the whole episode last week wasn't too full on and not too long, but it will happen in this episode. So let's kickstart this episode and start with the WWE. Their programming wasn't too crush hot last week, but we are going to start off with none other than Monday Night Raw. See, I tried it for the 5th time, but no good. Now let's look at the 5 points that stuck out to me on Monday Night Raw. First point being, finally we have seen a proper build, the build that we've wanted to see for a long time. We saw Drew give 3 claymores to Brock after Brock's yelled at him, "Get to the pound! Do you smell the smoke?" Because the Street Profits have finally got it. See, I nearly slipped up on the words, but they got the smoke, fam, and they are now your Raw Tag Team Champions. Listen, at least it's on a tag team. Step right up, step right up. Let's see what's in Eric Rowan's cage. Oh, could it be any of these options? Option A, a snake. Option B, a copy of Sunny Side Up. Or option C, a mechanical spider. If you answered B, you're sick. Yeah, but we saw it's a mechanical spider. For the 4th point, we're looking forward for this from last week. It was going to be Aleister Black versus AJ Styles. But somehow we ended up with a gauntlet match that Aleister Black had to try to beat Carl Anderson, then tried to beat Luke Gallows, but then eventually went up against AJ Styles, who put on a decent performance and just obliterated Aleister Black, put him into a black mass. But this was not the match I wanted to see between AJ and Aleister, but finally we're going to see it coming up to Elimination Chamber because we need to see that actual match. Okay, it's not that I don't like the OC, but come on, Aleister Black and AJ, you don't want to wreck that match. Don't put him in a gauntlet. And the 5th point being, we have finally seen Sinister Randy Orton back. And you're probably thinking, what the hell? Don't think what the hell, because he actually RKO'd Edge's wife. The Viking's wife, Beth Phoenix, the Phoenix that rose from the ashes, just got knocked the hell out. Oh man, they really sold that she took this RKO on as a big deal, but when it happened tonight, they were like, yeah, don't worry, it's alright. This moves us straight on to the Wednesday Night War between the black and gold brand NXT and All Elite Wrestling on Dynamite on TNT. Before we go any further, I always say this, but you can love all professional wrestling, but some weeks you might have a preference in what you watch. Maybe it may be the black and gold brand that did it for you this week, or it could have been the Elite brand on TNT Dynamite All Elite Wrestling. Now let's see what the 3 points were that stuck out to me and which brand won it for me. Starting off with none other than NXT, we're talking the black and gold brand. First point being, I had a massive OCD problem with Chelsea Green being the one that wore all black and Shotzi Blackheart being the one that wore all green. What? Second point being, we finally saw Johnny Gargano finally talk to Mauro Ranallo how he should be talked to. He didn't do anything wrong. It's Johnny Revenge. Tommaso Ciampa knows why he did it. I know why he did it. My dog knows why he did it. Everyone knows why he did it. And the 3rd point being, but I did Hardy fingers then. The 3rd point being, we saw 2 steel cage matches. We saw Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox in a steel cage. Fantastic. Then we seen Velveteen Dream lose to Roddy Strong, but the only thing was that really stuck out to me. Are we going to see finally go after the NXT Championship once again and try to accomplish it this time? And if he does, will it be the era of the Dream? Now we're moving on to All Elite Wrestling Dynamite, the product that's on TNT. First point that stuck out to me was none other than Jake the Snake. He is back and he's saying that he has a client that's after Cody Rhodes because he wants to slay him. After 20 years of getting straight, Jake the Snake's goal was to destroy Cody. See what I did there? It's a Death Triangle. It's another heel stable. You're like, oh, this must be burning you inside. It doesn't just burn me inside, it burns me outside. You're like, where outside? Shut up. We're talking about the Lucha Brothers and Puck. Why? And the last point being, to me, there was no Exalted One said. Didn't even rock up. Not even a little glimpse it's. And no Lance Archer, who was advertised to be there. Now, who won it for me this week? Was it All Elite Wrestling or was it the black and gold brand in NXT? I'm just going to say it how it is. NXT did it for me this week. They beat All Elite Wrestling because it's a brand new era within NXT. They just needed to shapeshift some of the new competitors, and leading all the way up to NXT Tampa Bay TakeOver. Ooh, yeah. Now moving on to NXT UK, to the wrong part. The 3 points that stuck out to me, first point being that Aiden English and Tom Phillips, they are an underrated commentary team. Like the way that they go for it, okay, they do have slip up of words, but there is a lot of slip up of words, and this is like the underrated sleeper of a commentary team. Aiden English, Tom Phillips, yes. Second point being for NXT UK, to the wrong part. We're talking about their tag team division. It is also a sleeper. It's probably one of the greatest tag team divisions from WWE brands that they have currently, because you have Gallus, you have Subwell Subculture, hopefully I pronounced that right. You have Imperium, then you have The Hunt. The teams are just building and building to the point where it's going to be great. And that's why we've seen Grizzled Young Vets slowly transition to NXT, because there is a lot of tag teams on NXT UK as it is. And the third and final point being for NXT UK, we're talking about the final meetup, their heaviest NXT UK Championship defense in history. They repeated it over and over on commentary, but it was a fantastic showing. We saw Dave Mastiff and Volta from Imperium finally face off, and this was actually very good of a match. There was a lot of parts of the actual NXT UK where you just, out of habit, you check the phone and see if you got messages and all that stuff, but watching Dave Mastiff and Walter, I couldn't help myself but keep my eyes peeled at the TV and not look away whatsoever, just staring straight into the barrel. Now the 5 points that stuck out to me on the blue brand, yes, I have the 5 points. My first point being that the NWO on the Moment of Bliss having a brilliant war of words with Sami Zayn alongside with Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. For 1 minute I'm like, no, they can't be building towards a WrestleMania match, we can't have more veterans on it. But at one point I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to see the NWO, Sami Zayn and all that. But then Braun Strowman came out and he was like the uneven cookie out of all of them. But Sami Zayn using Alexa Bliss as a shield, that's perfect heel work. Second point being, I took an early toilet break of SmackDown. You're like, early toilet break? That's correct, because we saw the tag team matchup that featured Sasha Banks. I could not stand Sasha Banks, so let's move on from Sasha Banks. Third point being, are we finally going to see Drew Gulak analyze and finally overcome Daniel Bryan at Elimination Chamber? Because that match has been set after Drew Gulak was saying to Drake Maverick that he has 100 and something weaknesses. Good luck, because those weaknesses aren't going to show when it comes to Elimination Chamber, Drew Gulak. And I love how Michael Cole kept stuffing up his name every week. That's probably why they stopped putting him on commentary. Fourth point being, Firefly Funhouse has gone back to the segment that's a must watch. All the other ones were, it didn't seem like it was the full capability of Bray Wyatt between those Firefly Funhouse segments, but the whole build from saying that this was a big embarrassing moment for him back at the WrestleMania when John Cena beat him, but now that he can correct that wrong because Bray Wyatt forgives him, but the Fiend doesn't. Fifth and final point, we finally saw a main event that's a proper build towards a pay-per-view. We saw the Gauntlet Tag Team match to see who's going to draw number 6 for the Elimination Chamber. Otis and Tucky putting on a terrific showing. This SmackDown even featured more of the hacking stuff. But this SmackDown was actually not too bad. Now we're moving on to other wrestling, and other wrestling we're going to start with none other than NWA Powerrr. National Wrestling Alliance presents Powerrr. They've finally got a venue. The bidding war is over for the Crockett Cup. First thing that stuck out to me for NWA Powerrr, hold on a quick sec, Ziggy Dice, brand new TV champion of the NWA, beating Ricky Starks, Stroke Daddy. What? This was a legit shock. I was just staring at the TV like. And the second point and final point for NWA Powerrr that stuck out to me, the hidden gem of NWA Powerrr is none other than the real OG himself. We're talking about Eddie Kingston. Yeah, I know he's had his trouble with Pope, but the way that he talks on the mic, the way that he carries himself, he seems like the perfect outcast fit for the NWA. You know how you'll have your LAXs for your original TNA type of thing. They're a bit of outcast, but they fit in so perfect. He is a hidden gem, and they need to capitalize more on him. He is fantastic, and hopefully comes down to Australia later on in 2020. Now we move on to Impact Wrestling on Access TV. See, I pronounced it fantastically right this time. But the first point that stuck out to me, finally we see Fala Bar and TJP, the Filipino, whatever they want to call themselves. I'm pretty sure it's Filipino, don't hurt me if it's not. But they finally beat the North, so this just adds more to it. I think this is the year, so far it is the month, of Canada slowly going down with your Kevin Owens getting bashed, your, the screw job. Then you have Edge getting destroyed. Then you have the North losing. It doesn't look good. Second point, we finally see ICU strike again, but the only thing is we're not seeing who they are, but we're seeing that there's a hacking thing going on. And if we know anything about hacking and who's had a hacking gimmick beforehand, don't. I like him in his other stable. And the third but final point for Impact Wrestling on Access TV. See the smile? Because I got it right. We're talking about Tessa Blanchard finally retains against Taya Valkyrie for the Impact World Championship. Impact Wrestling with both females in the main event for the World Champion. 2020, my friends. 2020. But before we finish off this video, I did say I was going to cover the Ring of Honor pay-per-views that did happen back in February, the 28th and 29th. We have Bound By Honor all the way leading up to Gateway To Honor, Gateway By Honor. There's a lot of honor. Now, Bound By Honor, this was the one just before Gateway To Honor. Now, what were the 4 points for this pay-per-view that stuck out to me? Let's go for it. So in the first match, we saw Villain Enterprises team up to take on the Briscoes and Slex. What really irritated me about this match, what really turned me off of this match, and it shouldn't have, because Slex is Australian, I'm going to be representing Australia. Briscoes are a fantastic tag team, and don't let me get into more Villain Enterprises because they are a fantastic unit as it is. But what really annoyed me about this whole thing, you had Ian Riccaboni, I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it right, I don't care. He says throughout this match, this is the first time Slex and Marty have crossed paths in the ring. Other time being that it happened in Melbourne City Wrestling back in Australia. That was my face, because you piece of stupid shit. Please don't take this in the fucking wrong context, but don't do history if you don't know history. Marty Scurll and Slex have crossed paths multiple times when it has come to World Series Wrestling in Melbourne. World Series Wrestling, not Melbourne City Wrestling. They said Villain Enterprises went to Melbourne City Wrestling. It wasn't Melbourne City Wrestling. It was World Series Wrestling. What also happened at World Series Wrestling in Melbourne was none other than the formation of your biggest fucking stable that carries Ring of Honor. We're talking about Villain Enterprises that formed with Brody King and Marty Scurll in Melbourne when they turned on Philip. But you wouldn't know any of this shit. No, because you're so disillusioned from the actual facts that it fucking turned me off. I hate that I went full into it, but man, you're a commentator for fuck's sake. The second point being, I know that I have complained about heel stables in the past, but Ring of Honor, that's a brand new dish, a brand new menu of at least 30 pages of heel formations. And no, it doesn't just happen in Ring of Honor, but Lord, there are so many heel factions now in Ring of Honor. There's more heel factions than legitimate competitors against the world champions. Third point, we saw Nicole Savoy. Thank you, we finally see some more depth in the women's division that seemed like it was put to the side, and basically neglected for the time being, but it's great to see some new fresh blood into the women's division because it was really needed. And seeing Session Moff Martina that was on commentary for this whole thing, fantastic. It's a better job than Ian. Fuck you, Ian. And the fourth and last point was none other than PCO. Please, how the... Oh, just watching him in the ring makes my body hurt all over. Just the disregard for his own sake to make sure that he gets the pinfall. At some points it can be disconcerting and you're looking at it and you're like, I have to close my eyes for some part. But PCO, at his age, doing what he does, no wonder why he's got such a big name to the point where you can... Woo! That takes us on to the Gateway to Honor. That's right, and there's a couple points that stuck out to me. What were those points? First point being Dan Marth and Alex Shelley. I love to see myself a little Alex Shelley because I'm reminiscent of the Motor City Machine Guns. But either way, that match was fantastic, and finally seeing that Dan Marth is on the right path to getting where he needs to be just is motivating as hell. Trying to see all his story behind it, getting up, leading to him being in a Ring of Honor ring, truly motivating and inspiring. Second point being, wait a minute, Session Moff Martina, she grinds on referees? Hold on for a second. I'm going to sign up for a ref now. I just forgot Bully Ray still works there. Company about wrestling, yeah, sure. Third point being that fatal four-way that we saw between Jeff Cobb, Kenny King, Hot Sauce, Tracy Williams and Dalton Castle. Finally we're seeing Dalton Castle in the faceways. I never enjoyed him as a heel, even though he tried to build him his character. He never should have been heel from the get-go and having villains as faces. But besides the point, this fatal four-way was a fantastic fatal four-way. It felt like Ring of Honor was just strong as hell throughout this whole match. It felt like you were properly watching a Ring of Honor match. After that fatal four-way, we move on to the fourth point. See what I did there? I tried to segue properly, but I'm an idiot. And we see that Rouge is now a two-time World Heavyweight Champion. Rouge, what's the rush? I know. I'm just going to leave the room now. And you thought we're going to finish off with Ring of Honor, but no, we're going to finish off on a more positive note, I'm guessing, in my situation. Also, I forgot about it last week, but we're going to cover it this week. I'm only going to cover one episode, and I'm not going to do two back-to-back. We're talking about MLW Fusion 100. It has finally reached 100 episodes. There's 3 points that stuck out to me because I stretched it since it's the 100 technically anniversary. No, that's every year. Who cares? It's a 100th episode. First point that stuck out to me. This episode had more heel factions than ever. Team Filthy, Injustice. You had Contra Unit. Then you, even though... you could have passed it off as an All Elite Wrestling versus MLW pay-per-view with some of the guys that they had on it. Second point being, Killer Kross is announced for next week on MLW, so all of those vignettes have finally led up to his arrival, and apparently he's going to face Tom Lawler next week. Yes. And the third and final point for MLW Fusion 100, I am telling you right now that Jacob Fire 2 is not only the future of MLW, but he could be, well, the future of professional wrestling. You watch MLW 100 right now, and you tell me at least 4 of those people are going to be big names within the future of professional wrestling. And that was our weekly perspective, episode 5. If you like what you saw, give it a big thumbs up. If you want a bit of more, see that red button? Make sure to give it a cheeky subscribe. And if you want to do something even more naughty, sleazy, I want you to spank at that notification bell. And also, I want to say now, thank you and welcome to the OWP rocket ship that's going straight up to the OWP galaxy, because we have 79 subscribers. You're like, 79? That's not much, calm down. No, it's plenty. I appreciate all of the comments, all of the love. This will keep going on, and I'll keep saying some stupid shit.